In fact, I can tell you 3 little habits that if you have all 3 of them or a combination of them, you'll never make it. I don't care how smart you are or who your parents are. And they are these. Number 1 is the late habit. One thing successful people have in common is this: they're on time. And not only that, successful people get very irritated when other people are late because they value time. But this is a habit, this business of being late. School functions, church functions, civic functions, all start late. Banquets never start on time. It's a habit. Second little habit that'll kill you off in a hurry is this: I'm not going to sweat it routine. I'm not killing myself. You know what I found out? The have-nots and the haves are as different as the dids and the did-nots. The third little habit that'll kill you off is the I quit routine. Boy, if the ball doesn't bounce your way, you quit. But the 3 little R's the teenagers said made the difference were these. The first one was the little word responsibility. Being responsible. Now, I don't mean the kind where a fellow applied for a job and they said, "Are you responsible?" He said, "Very much so." He said, "In fact, the last job I had, every time something happened, they said I was responsible." I don't mean that at all. I had a little girl came up to me in a high school one day, and she looked at me. She said, "Mr. Lonie," she said, "I am almost 19. I am a senior. I have been married. I've had a child. I am divorced. I am back in high school. I am bitter. I am an old woman at 18. But," she said, "you know what hurts?" She said, "In this town, this size, everybody knows how I've lived. Everybody knows what I've done. I am Exhibit A in this high school. But in spite of it, young people continue to travel down the same road that I have already traveled. The only difference is I happen to know what's at the end of that road." I wished, she said, "I could have heard a talk like this a year and a half ago. I'm not saying my life would have been any different, but it may have been. Thank you for coming to our school." She turned around and walked off, and as she walked away, I said to myself, there is a young lady that has learned responsibility the hard way. Teenager, God doesn't cancel his rules for teenagers. One of the saddest commencements I ever had was in the state of Wisconsin. After the exercise, I was invited to go to the local funeral home with the senior class to pay our respects to the family of a young lady that was to have graduated that night. The night before, she went out to celebrate. This young lady had never drank a drop of liquor in her life, but the driver had. When that car ended up in an automobile crash, it didn't make any difference to God that this young lady was an only child. Didn't make any difference to God that she was to graduate within 24 hours. Didn't make any difference to God that she was going to the university in the fall. God does not cancel his rules with teenagers. And young fella, young lady, anytime you get in a car with a fella or a girl that's a smart aleck, just remember this. If that car hits an immovable object, it is the weight of your body plus the speed of the car plus the distance from the dashboard equals the force with which your body hits the windshield and dashboard of that car. And it wouldn't make any difference to the States or the Pope of Rome, and I don't say that disrespectfully. were sitting in the front seat of that car, the mathematical equation would be the same. The Bible says, be not deceived. You know what that means? Don't be fooled. God is not mocked. You know what that means? God won't be laughed at. You can laugh at Don Lonie and get away with it. You can laugh at your mother and father and get away with it. You can laugh at the school teacher and the preacher and get away with it. But God says he will not be laughed at.